Welcome to the AI for Career Success video overview by Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. In this analysis, we will examine the current AI hardware landscape, a market often described as a modern gold rush. We'll explore the dynamics of this intense competition and consider where sustainable value will likely be created in the future. To understand the scale of this market, let's begin with a single figure, $400 billion. According to the Wall Street Journal, this represents the projected combined sales for semiconductor companies in 2025. This would mark the single largest year for the chip industry on record, with 2026 expected to surpass it. The journal attributes this significant growth to what it terms an insatiable demand for the specialized processors that power artificial intelligence systems. This level of demand has fostered an exceptionally competitive and high-stakes environment, analogous to a technological gold rush. Our analysis is structured in 5 parts. We'll begin with the gold rush analogy itself. Then, we will examine NVIDIA's market dominance. Following that, we'll explore the competitive challenges forming against them. We will then analyze the argument for the eventual commoditization of this hardware and conclude by investigating where value is projected to migrate next. So, let's begin with our first section. To properly contextualize the AI hardware market, the gold rush metaphor is particularly apt. It accurately captures the current economic and competitive dynamics at play. As software architect Andrei Morozov articulates, the most profitable position in this environment isn't necessarily held by those mining for AI breakthroughs, but rather by those selling the essential tools, the shovels. AI model developers are investing billions in compute resources, and the chip makers are the primary beneficiaries of this capital expenditure. This observation leads us to the dominant supplier of these shovels. NVIDIA's current market position can only be described as one of nearly absolute dominance. The numbers here are quite striking. Projections from Goldman Sachs and the Wall Street Journal estimate NVIDIA's sales will reach $383 billion. This means the company is positioned to capture over 95% of the entire $400 billion market. This isn't merely market leadership, it approaches a functional monopoly on the foundational layer of the AI industry. So the critical question becomes, why? The answer lies beyond superior hardware. It is their CUDA moat. CUDA is a proprietary software platform that allows developers to work with NVIDIA's GPUs. Over many years, the AI research and development community has built a vast body of work on this platform, creating a deeply entrenched ecosystem. A competitor, even with superior hardware, faces the monumental task of persuading the entire industry to abandon this established software foundation. However, such concentrated market power and profitability invariably invite competition. This brings us to the next phase of our analysis, the rebellion. NVIDIA is now facing what is being described as a multi-front war. This challenge is materializing on 3 distinct fronts. First, the hyperscalers, companies like Google, Amazon, and Meta, are developing their own custom silicon to reduce their dependency on a single supplier. Second, traditional hardware rivals like AMD are positioning themselves as viable second-source alternatives. And third, there is an internal physics-based pressure known as the memory wall, a bottleneck where processors are faster than the memory that feeds them. Solving this may require new architectures, creating an opening for disruption. The motivation for these technology giants to invest billions in custom chip design is twofold: cost and control. They seek to bypass what they see as an NVIDIA tax, reduce significant operational costs, and design hardware that is highly specialized for their specific workloads. Ultimately, it is a strategic move to control their own technological destiny. What we are witnessing is a contest between 2 fundamentally different philosophies. On one side, you have NVIDIA's vertically integrated model, a closed ecosystem where proprietary hardware is tightly coupled with its CUDA software. On the other side is an emerging alliance of companies building custom, workload-specific hardware, often built upon open-source software. It's the classic strategic battle between a walled garden and an open ecosystem. This competitive pressure sets the stage for our 4th section, which explores the central thesis of this analysis. The argument that AI hardware is on a trajectory toward commoditization, meaning its period of extraordinary profitability may be finite. As data scientist Kaushal Jha has noted, this pattern is well established in the technology sector. In the 1980s, CPUs were high-margin products before becoming commodities. The same cycle occurred with memory in the 90s, and more recently with cloud compute services. Historical precedent strongly suggests that AI chips may follow a similar path. This is not merely a theoretical discussion. Significant capital is being allocated based on this thesis. For instance, in late 2025, Peter Thiel's venture fund divested its entire position in NVIDIA. This action can be interpreted as a strong signal from a major investor that the peak of hardware profitability may be approaching. If value does, in fact, migrate away from the hardware layer over time, the logical question is, where will it accrue? This brings us to our final section, the shift up the technology stack. There is a well-observed principle in technology that value tends to migrate upward. It begins at the foundational layer, in this case, silicon. It then moves to the software and platforms built upon that hardware. Ultimately, however, the most sustainable value often resides at the highest layer, the applications and services directly integrated into end-user workflows.
Therefore, the key argument is that the long-term center of gravity in the AI ecosystem is predicted to shift. It will move away from the producers of silicon and toward the entities that own the customer relationship and integrate AI into the tools people use in their daily work.
And this leaves us with a final, critical question for strategic consideration. Perhaps the most important question for the next decade is not who will produce the fastest chip, but rather who will own the layer of the stack that customers are willing to pay for over the long term.
To summarize the key takeaways from this analysis of thought leaders on LinkedIn in December 2025, the AI chip market is a massive gold rush, which NVIDIA currently dominates. However, the company faces a multi-front war from competitors. There is a compelling historical argument for the eventual commoditization of this hardware. And finally, long-term sustainable value is predicted to shift up the stack to software and services closer to the end user.
Thank you for watching. This is where we teach you AI and help you get smarter than your competition. To continue learning with us, please subscribe to the AI for Career Success YouTube channel. We also ask that you like, comment, and share this overview to help us reach a wider professional audience.